Hey, it's almost Thanksgiving, and I'm going to have a whole house full of my friends and family, and I'd like to do a project. So I think what we're going to do are place cards, because the big focus is on the meal, but we could also have a lot of fun getting ready for it. I'm going to start with a 4x6 card. It's a standard size for a postcard, but you want a fairly stiff paper, because what I'm going to be doing is folding it in half, and then that's how it stays up on the table. I folded one card and I used it as a guide, drew a line, and so that's going to give me an idea of where that fold is, and then I drew a turkey. Okay? And I used my connector pens with a nice black line. You could do it with a blue line, green line. It's going to be up to you, and you can make it as big as you want. But the reason I put that one little bit of a fold in through there is I wanted to show where the head could stick up when it's folded. So you can kind of see what the effect is here. It makes it a little more dimensional, a little bit more interesting, I think. So I punched two holes here, and then I took a pair of scissors, and then I used that hole to get me around here so I could cut around the head, and this hole for around the tail. All right, so we can start coloring these now once we have the mechanism for how it's going to work, and I'm keeping it flat because it's a lot easier to work with when it's flat than when it's standing up. And so I have one of my connector markers, one of my connector pens, and so I can color the main, and you know, I could have made it a green turkey, blue turkey. I drew it wearing a hat so that you knew that this turkey was coming to dinner rather than being dinner, and that's why he's got a smile on his face. So you can kind of see the way that, you know, I take that one, I can take another color and start working on his neck. So I could be using these connector pens as my first layer and finish it off. Then I think what I'm going to do is take one of my beeswax crayons and I'm going to put my name, and to make sure I get it correct I'll flip it around. Okay, so there's my name and it's done with the beeswax crayon. And then I might do something. I have these metallic pencils, and I could take a straight edge, and this time we'll put my name on the side, but I like the idea of a little bit of metallic color here. So I'm going to put it here, and maybe one more stripe here. Maybe take one of my Eco pencils and have a red one in between. And you can do whatever you want. I mean, it's up to you to kind of design this. Now, because this is a beeswax crayon, I'm going to take my watercolor, and here's some nice yellow, and then when I go on top of that color, the beeswax is going to prevent the watercolor from sticking, and so that way I can go over the letters and still fill in the background. So I have this nice snappy yellow. I can continue working on decorating that up with some more connector pens, but then, you know, I've got the background. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take, I think I'm going to take my blue crayon and put a little shadow underneath here so that he's walking around on the ground. And then I'm going to take one of my gel crayons, and then I'm going to start coloring in the background. And I have it on a scrap piece of paper because I want to take it right to the edge. And if I'm working on the nice linen table cloth, then I'm going to get in trouble. Now these stay fluid for a couple hours. So if I want to blend them, and it's the same thing that these are like a water-soluble gel, and so when it goes over the crayon it doesn't stick. So I can kind of start working on filling in the background and going over that shadow and not worry about covering it up. And so I'm going to start with that kind of fluorescent green. I like that. And then I'm going to finish that off and kind of blend it in with a fluorescent yellow. And since these are still smearable, malleable for a couple hours, then I don't have to rush to do this. Okay. So you could have, everybody could have a chance to make their own, or you could make them all up ahead of time. I think it's a lot more fun if everybody, or you might be able to, like, you know, draw names from a hat. In this case, we got the turkey hat here. He's wearing his top hat. You can put him in his hat. But you could draw somebody's name, and you could be responsible for making their place tag. Okay, so I think you can get the idea of how this is going to work. Let me get that folded. Okay, and so with a little more work, I could get twins. Okay, everybody's in the kitchen putting flour and pumpkin together to make a pie, and the dressing and the turkey, and we've been working in the studio with crayons and watercolors and connector pens, and your place card is served.